In Plants vs Zombies, the price of a plant doesn't increase. Regardless of the fact I'm buying 500 sunflowers every time I play adventure mode, I still only pay 50 sun for each one. If you were selling sunflowers, you would probably increase the price of them if so many people bought so many sunflowers. This is why today I'm doing the inflation challenge. Each plant will now cost 50 more sun every time it is planted. Is it even possible to beat the game this way when everything is so expensive? Stick to the end to find out, because this gets even crazier than beating the game with one column only, especially when plants like Puffshroom will increase in cost extremely quickly. We begin the challenge at 1-1. This level is a free win because the game doesn't send any zombies until 2 pea shooters are planted, and they're enough to beat the level on their own. Level 1-2 is up next, and this can be easily beaten with the 50-second wait strategy, as the game doesn't send any zombies until 3 sunflowers are planted. We ignore its suggestion to allow ourselves to farm up enough sun for the rest of the level, and as we know, 1 column of pea shooters is enough to beat the level, so this level is beaten too. Conehead zombies are introduced in level 1-3 and have more health than basic zombies, but the good news is one pea shooter can still kill a lone conehead in its row without any problems. You can afford 1 column of pea shooters before any coneheads come, even with only 2 sunflowers, so you should be able to beat this level with relative ease. Now, level 1-4 is where things start to get really bad. You need to defend 5 rows and the game only gives you enough time to plant 2 sunflowers before you need to start planting pea shooters. With only 2 sunflowers, you can only plant 3 pea shooters before getting overwhelmed at the 4th wave, where a pea shooter already costs 250 sun, making it impossible to defend. The only way to survive is to sacrifice a lawnmower, and stall with a walnut to save up sun by planting a 150 sun sunflower so we can afford our 250 sun pea shooter. It should then be exactly enough so that we can cherry bomb the zombie that appears in the last row without a pea shooter on the wave before the final wave. Then, use another cherry bomb on the final wave, and this strategy should just be exactly enough to beat this level. Now, obviously, the inflated cost of plants doesn't affect the conveyor belt levels at all, so we'll be skipping all of them in this video. 1-6 introduces the potato mine, which is one of the most important plants in this challenge. Their low cost allows us to plant double the sunflowers before we need to start planting pea shooters. The strategy I had for this level is to use a walnut to stall out a lane while using cherry bomb on a conehead alongside a pole vaulting zombie. For this level, there's only 1 flag, so lawnmowers will reliably take out all the zombies in the final wave even if we spend 1 of them on the early game zombies. 1-7 is twice as long, which may be scary because of how much plants cost later on, but with snow peas, this level is probably the easiest of all day levels. Instead of going for 4 sunflowers straight away, I did a potato mine for wave 1, pea shooter for wave 2, and snow pea for wave 3. This alternation instead lets us use a potato mine that costs 75 for a conehead zombie on wave 4. From here on out, just start planting a snow pea on every row to cover all bases. 1 snow pea on every row is enough to beat the level as shown previously in the 1 column challenge, and it's pretty easy to get with the aid of potato mines, making this level very easy. And just like in the 1 column challenge, simply repeat the same strategy on level 1-8 and level 1-9 to beat them, as 1 snow pea on every row is enough to beat both levels as well. As a little bit of switch up, Repeater also makes this easier in level 1-9, as the more variety of plants we use, the less inflation we have to endure. That about concludes the daytime levels. Nighttime is when things start to get bad extremely quickly. No sun falls from the sky, and a second sunflower costs 100 sun, meaning you have to literally wait 100 seconds for a second sunflower. Puffshroom now also costs 50 more sun every time it is planted, making every Puffshroom extremely valuable as they are no longer expendable. The only way to beat this level is to get lucky so that the first 2 waves of zombies spawn in the same row, allowing just 1 Puffshroom to defend both so you can afford a second sunflower. After which, you have to pay 50 sun for a second Puffshroom to defend an additional row. After which, Puffshroom costs 100, so you get overwhelmed just 4 waves into the level. Potato Mine allows us to defend 1 basic zombie while a lawnmower kills the other. Relying on RNGs, you can get the next 2 zombies to go into the Puffshroom lanes for a free defense. This allows us to save up for a pea shooter that we saved up 100 sun for to defend off the newspaper zombie. After which, we pay for a 100 sun Puffshroom to defend a 4th row, and by praying to RNGs, hope that any more new newspaper zombies go to the pea shooter lane. By spending your last bit of sun on a cherry bomb on the final wave of zombies, you can barely beat 2-1 with inflation. This is just the first nighttime level, and things already look bad. Level 2-2 isn't exactly better by any accounts, because this level, I'm just gonna let the gameplay speak for itself as to how bad this is. This is by far the hardest level in the entire challenge. With only sunshrooms as the other mushroom plant, no amount of lawnmower sacrificing will get you through the early game without a bit of help. Conehead zombies are especially stupidly difficult to deal with, as each one requires a whole potato mine, and you can't even get past the first flag if you want to use snow peas. After about an hour of just playing the game normally, it seemed essentially impossible to even get past the halfway mark of the level with such limited resources. Partial RNG manipulation is basically required to beat this level. From this point onwards, I call it the tool-assisted part of the challenge. The level isn't impossible, we just need to get incredibly lucky. For those unaware, save states are stored as a single file in PvZ. We can make a backup file and then replace our save state with my checkpoint to go back in time whenever something undesirable happens. The zombies spawned are always the same, but the lanes at which zombies will spawn can be changed by simply time traveling back to before where it spawned. This is not something you can do within the confines of the game, but for the purposes of the challenge, I'm just here to try and see whether it is even possible to beat the game this way. With about 30 minutes of fumbling around, I suppose I got an efficient enough early game that I decided to start safe scumming the first flag to try and make this beatable. But oh boy, even then it's not doable. Even with our hyper efficient early game, we needed even more efficiency to beat this. You need more than 3 snow peas to get past this level because potato mines are so expensive later on. After about an hour of unsuccessful attempts on this run, I restarted to try and one-up my already hyper-efficient run with something even better in the early game to maximize some production. I had to get so astronomically lucky that I don't think any of you will be able to pull it off, even if you try for like an hour. I've never seen this, but it is possible after a lot of effort in safe scumming, where all 3 first waves come in the same lane. After this, the 4th wave with 2 basics has to be scummed so that one goes in the lane without a sun producer to get extra time to plant a potato mine in that lane after my 4th sun producer. Everything is so downright precise, including the time you can plant a snow pea to defend a conehead zombie. Even tasks as simple as that have to be redone to be more precise. I managed to get past everything in the early game with 4 puff shrooms, a snow pea, a walnut, and 2 potato mines as well as a lawnmower. Just to illustrate how bad this safe scumming was, I had to reload the first wave until 2 zombies in a single lane were of different speeds so that a single puff shroom could kill both. After which, we have precisely just enough sun for a potato mine for a buckethead zombie, and precisely just enough snow peas to deal with the conehead zombies while sacrificing a lane. The sacrifice allows us to precisely have just enough for a 4th snow pea to close off this level for the next zombie that shows up in that lane. At least I thought it closed off this level, because even that isn't enough to beat the level, since I actually die on the final wave by getting overwhelmed. So, back to the drawing board. I'll spare you guys from watching 30 more minutes of me precisely finding more ways to beat this level, and skip to the solution here. The way to solve that wave with a newspaper zombie and conehead was to actually spend a walnut to block lane 1. There is just enough sun to do that while saving up for a 4th snow pea. After which, you also have precisely enough for a 2nd walnut to stall lane 1 again. With that 2nd walnut to stall lane 1, we keep 4 lawnmowers intact. On the final wave, hard focus on the only lane without a lawnmower by stacking our damage, which allows us to beat 2-2, taking more time than all the previous levels combined. We unlock the 7th slot on level 2 free, and even then we still struggle on this level if you don't have almost absolutely perfect RNG. In the first attempt, the screen door zombie came on our puff shroom lane, ruining the attempt. You need to very precisely make sure that no screen door zombies or conehead zombies go into your puff shroom lanes before they find a wave to keep them all alive defending basic zombies. Then, I spent every potato mine on killing conehead zombies, and this should allow us to cherry bomb any lanes where there are no lawnmowers left, allowing us to beat level 2 free. 2-4, and you guys know this is about to be even worse. If you thought 2-2 was bad enough with us reloading a save state until 2 basic zombies move at different speeds to allow our puff shrooms to kill them both, this is where things turn worse. I didn't even bother trying to beat this level without using any tools because, yeah, pretty sure we already know why. In this level, I introduced the more advanced version of the Foreseer method. In Plants vs Zombies, zombie spawns are predetermined when you load into a level from the main menu. Instead of playing out the level, PvZ2 has a neat feature that allows me to see into the future what zombies will spawn throughout the level and plan accordingly before even playing. So I cranked my game up to the fastest speed possible to reroll the levels as fast as I can until I find a level with a formation of zombies which has the most favorable spawns here. After a bunch of reloads, I got this spawning pattern which I thought was good enough to allow us to beat this level. Only having one screen door zombie before the final wave helps out a lot. Obviously, the early game is basically as ridiculous as level 2-2, and I tried to save scum the first 3 waves into the same lane, but I couldn't do it again even after about 50 attempts or so. I gave up after like 30 minutes of trying and instead just used the potato mine to deal with the third basic zombie instead of constantly trying to save scum. We then have 2 puff shrooms to take out the 4th wave of zombies, and then a fume shroom to defend one lane while sacrificing a lot more to defend another lane. With a bit more safe scumming, I scummed the 2 basic zombies on the 6th wave to these 2 puff shrooms again to save up sun for a 5th sun producer, which gives barely enough to still get a snow pea in time for the conehead. Sacrificing another lawnmower against the pole vaulter in specifically the only lane that this is possible gives us just enough time to get a 2nd snow pea, allowing us to enter flag 1 with 2 snow peas. With snow peas on the side rows, we can just cherry bomb off the remaining 3 rows and now spend another hour on safe scumming the waves to force pole vaulters as well as conehead zombies into our snow pea lanes. Hopefully you're not too bored by now because the safe scumming is ridiculous, and this video would still be running tomorrow if I had to explain the next 10 waves of safe scumming. So I'm just gonna skip ahead to the final wave here and give you guys the insight that it is precisely possible to beat 2-4 with inflation. Takes a lot of calculation and planning, but possible. Now on to 2-6. Football zombies are introduced, but we also get the 8th slot, and thankfully this level is not really that bad at all since we just applied the same strategy as in 2-3 but used Hypno Shroom. Now level 2-7 is where I thought things would get bad, but the blessing this level is we unlock Scaredy Shroom here, which makes the early game drastically easier. Costing only 25 more sun than a Puff Shroom, not only is it efficient, it also lifts off the inflation we have to endure since we aren't just restricted to planting Puff Shrooms and inflating its price drastically. Scaredy Shroom can also kill a lone Kona in its row, making it rather easy as you no longer need to save up for Snow Pea, and this allows it for an extremely easy time getting up Fume Shrooms. With a Fume Shroom in almost every lane alongside a Puff Shroom and Scaredy Shroom, this easily beats the level as the only 2 football zombies appear in the last 2 waves of the level. As for level 2-8, repeat the strategy used in level 2-7 for an easy win, as we just need to hypnotize the dancing zombie instead now, and Scaredy Shroom is still overpowered. And in level 2-9, repeat the same strategy yet again. It really doesn't matter if you choose Ice Shroom or Walnut in my opinion, as both are good in the context of enabling Fume Shroom to kill coneheads. And with that, this concludes nighttime as we move on to the next area of the world, which is also pretty bad. We're now in Pool, and the bad news here is there is an additional lane to defend, and we also have to use lily pads, which, mind you, also cost 50 more sun for every lily pad we've used. Now, level 3-1 isn't that bad. Bring all 3 pea shooting plants here to minimize the amount of inflation, and it shouldn't be hard at all to get past this 1 flag level with a variety of plants. Level 3-2 introduces Squash, which complements the Potato Mine early game, allowing us to farm up even more sun early game so we can directly skip Pea Shooter and go for Snow Pea. With the extra early game greed, you can easily defend half the lanes with repeaters and half the lanes with Snow Peas, while spending the rest of your sun on walnuts and cherry bombs to protect against tougher threats. Free introduces the Free Peter. It is the most cost-efficient plan for this challenge, as it covers 6 lanes at the cost of only 700 sun. Most notably, you do not need to spend a lily pad to add damage in the water. A pea shooter's amount of damage can take out a lone conehead in its row, so just 2 Free Peters and walnuts is sufficient to deal with everything the game throws at you. Level 3 foresees the return of pole vaulting zombies, but Snow Peas will make them a cakewalk. Meanwhile, I opted to sacrifice lawnmowers in the water before I could get a Free Peter. Even though I thought the free flags could make this level complete hell to deal with, the efficiency of Free Peters really helps out in making this not so bad. Snow Peas are good enough to help save up enough sun for Free Peters. By the time we get 2 Free Peters, getting 2 more walnuts in the water is not a big problem at all, and it should be a free win from here on out. Level 3-6 unlocks Gatling Pea, Twin Sunflower, Jalapeno, Pool Cleaners, and the last 2 slots as well as the Rake. With the Rake, we can greed even more sun than ever in the early game. Twin sunflowers also drastically improve our sun production here because their inflated cost is completely separate from the sunflower itself, acting as a second sun producer. With the rake and twin sunflower, we can now even directly skip using snow peas and go straight to repeaters to start the game off, making it even easier than ever to defend. Make sure to have enough sun to plant repeaters for zombonis and zombie bobsled teams for the second half of the level, and this should easily beat the level from here on out. In level 3-7, repeat the same strategy again by starting with repeaters and play into repeaters to counter bucketheads as well as zombonis later on. Make sure to bring walnuts to defend against circle zombies of course, but apart from that, there's not really much difference between this and level 3-6 as far as the strategy goes. I'll skip over the early game of the next two levels since it's the exact same strategy as the levels previous. Dolphin Rider zombies are introduced this level, and they move very fast and jump over the first plant they encounter. We don't have Tall Nut to block them off and also lack the firepower to kill them with brute force before they jump. This means that we have to sacrifice our pool cleaners against them. After which, I found that the most efficient way to kill them is with a lily pad on the 8th column to force them to jump so that a repeater can kill it in time. This minimizes the amount of lily pads we need to spend this level, as repeaters will still defend off everything. The last level of pool has 3 flags, and the way to beat this is to utilize Tall Nuts to block Dolphin Riders, which will serve as a much better solution instead of just planting a lily pad. Tall Nuts have such massive amounts of hit points, it should be nearly impossible for normal zombies to eat them all the way as long as you have some form of damage hitting them. Add repeaters in every lane to defend against bucketheads and pole vaulters as well as zombonis, and that should be the level easily beaten as well, allowing us to move on to Fog. I'll skip directly to level 4-2 as we won't be using Lantern anyways. The general strategy here is essentially the same as in nighttime, but with reduced visibility, it's much easier to mess up. Not knowing how many zombies are in the fog is a major problem because you don't necessarily know if you need to help add damage to your security room lanes. My first attempt on this level was a fail, as I didn't know a flag zombie was coming in the bottom until it was too late and I got overwhelmed in 2 lanes at once, the top and the bottom. The better strategy here is bringing Ice Shroom instead of Squash or Potato Mine. Ice Shroom simultaneously stops all zombies, so it can add damage in all lanes at once in big waves. Defending the water is as simple as 1 Scaredy Shroom and 1 Sea Shroom, which is sufficient in defending the water lanes from 4-1 to 4-3 where coneheads are the toughest enemies. We don't want to use more lily pads or else their inflated price starts getting too expensive for us to afford. Paying 125 sun for a single lily pad is definitely not value in nighttime. As for Jack-in-the-Box zombies, they really never did much even in the original game, and in this challenge likewise, all they can do is at most just blow up a single puff shroom. Keeping most lawnmowers safe until the final wave, we can spend all of them and that's level 4-2 done without many problems. The next level introduces balloon zombies, which cannot be damaged without cactus, but I chose to simply ignore them here and just let lawnmowers take them out because I just don't want to use cactus. Or at least I thought I could get away by just using lawnmowers on balloon zombies. Bruh. Okay, don't do that. A better idea is to bring Doomshroom to kill off the final wave all at once, and then I still won't have to bring Cactus for this level. Cactus players don't exist in my books. Just repeat the early game strategy used in any normal nighttime level, and it should be fairly easy to get past this 1 flag level. Level 4-4 is here, and well, yeah. Dolphin Rider zombies as well as balloon zombies at the same time are the perfect recipe for disaster. Now, not only do you need to get lucky with balloon zombies, but you also need to not die to Dolphin Rider zombies. Meanwhile, you still have to survive 2 flags in fog, which is already an extremely difficult task as mentioned in level 4-2, and the addition of balloon zombies here is just adding salt to wounds. I end up spending about an hour on this level as well, losing in various ways, including just random ones like coneheads killing our fume shrooms. And then, I didn't plant a Scaredy Shroom in time because of the fog obstructing our view of the lawn, which is also an issue here. After which, I tried using Potato Mine instead and I still died because of the obstructing fog, preventing us from planting Potato Mines early enough so you can't even use them here. Then, I came up with this loadout to beat the level. Triple Sun Producer with double zero causes, Scaredy Shroom and Fume Shroom and Doom Shroom, and finally Walnut as a line of defense. I also used the Foreseer method with PvZ tools again, which generated a spawning table that minimized the amount of balloon zombies before the final wave down to just 2. The Foreseer method also helped with reducing the amount of Dolphin Riders down to just 2 before the final wave, but the good news here is those 2 Dolphin Riders are in the same wave. And that is the main reason why I brought in Doom Shroom, since that allows us to kill them at the same time. After which, I also use safe scumming to make sure that the 2 balloon zombies go into lanes with lawnmowers, otherwise we won't have enough sun to doomshroom the dolphin riders. After a couple of failed encounters trying to deal with balloon zombies, eventually, safe scumming will work out for you in some way or another. With a doomshroom to clear out the 2 dolphin riders that I can hear in the dark, I can stall out the wave before the final wave, and that gives me just enough time to precisely get back a doomshroom. And with that, you have precisely 175 stun to plant down the last doomshroom, which detonates the entire final wave. This kills all balloon zombies and whatnot shenanigans. This means that we have precisely just exactly enough stun to beat this level. No more, no less, on the dot, just enough. Talk about the precision required to beat these levels. With that absurdity out of the way, I'll skip directly to level 4-7 as the strategy to beat both 4-6 and 4-7 are the exact same. From this point onwards, Fog is a joke because of Cattail. Cattail is absurdly overpowered in these levels due to low zombie density. They can target every lane while still having a DPS of a repeater, eliminating the need to plant any variety of plants. By sacrificing 2 lawnmowers in the early game and simply defending off basic zombies with a puff shroom and a scaredy shroom, you can easily save enough sun for a Cattail. And from this point onwards, you will have basically no problem at all defending with just a Cattail. Just 1 Cattail will be enough to defend until you save up enough sun for another Cattail. 2 Cattails are way more than enough to beat any fog level on their own, and that about concludes level 4-6 and 4-7. You can simply repeat the same strategy on 4-8 to also easily beat it. Simply sacrifice a lawnmower against the pogo zombie and spend a squash on the last pogo zombie. In level 4-9, unsurprisingly, this level is even easier than the previous as there are no early pogo zombies here. And moreover, Magnishroom makes this level even easier than before. If there was any chance Cattail was going to lose, it was against Buckethead zombies, and Magnishroom simply hard counters them, which makes the difficulty of this level non-existent. With that out of the way, let's move on to the last area of the game. Now onto Roof. Our options are extremely limited again. We certainly don't want to spend sun to plant 5 cabbage bolts because their inflated price would cost way too much. Instead, using a wide variety of plants is the best way to mitigate inflation prices. So I went for cabbage bolts in 2 lanes, chopper in another, snow pea in another, and pea shooter in another. This defense looks completely scuffed, but it saves the most sun this way to allow for the easiest win. From now onwards, if you want to use pea shooting plants, you will have to start paying for flower pots, which obviously start getting really expensive really quickly, just like lily pads. The inflation of flower pot prices basically means that straight shooting plants like Free Peter are essentially off limits for the remaining levels. My solution here is to use cabbage bolts as half of our attackers, then use choppers as the supporting attacker while bringing every other support plant possible to help out. Obviously, still bring Twin Sunflower for greed, but use walnuts and tall nuts to stall against conehead zombies, and I use choppers or instant kills to kill higher health zombies. 2 cabbage bolts in 1 lane are enough to take out conehead zombies, so don't put more than 2 in a single lane or you'll be overspending on unnecessary defense. With some micromanaging of our support plants, this level should be beatable. Level 5 free introduces Kernel Pole, and this now means that we don't have to plant 300 sun cabbage poles as damage, as we can spread the inflation to the Kernel Pole as well. Even with 1 less column of flower pots to start with, this level is relatively much easier given a second choice of an attacker to add some variety to our lineup, allowing this to be beaten easily. There isn't a significant difference in the average damage between Kernel Pole and Cabbage Pole. You can easily use a combination of 2 catapults from either type to defend a lane. And here, we unlock the final piece of the puzzle. Again, Coffee Bean allows us to use Gloom Shrooms in Day, which if you've seen my previous videos, know Gloom Shrooms are OP. Gloom Shroom is so much absurdly better than every other plant that you can choose from, it's not even close. Just use a supporting Magnishroom to remove all ladders, and you've got yourself this hell of a defense which requires no micro apart from replanting pumpkins. If you're not convinced already from the 1 column challenge, just look at how stupidly overpowered this is. I'm playing the game at literally 10 times speed because it's just that easy. Unfortunately, we can't use Gloom Shrooms in 5-6 because there are catapult zombies and we don't have umbrella leaves, so we're forced to use the same strategy in 5-3. Catapult zombies can take a beating from our catapult plants. Fortunately, we can still beat this level thanks to its short length, so we don't care too much about losing our sun producers. Level 5-7 sees the return of the Gloom Shroom, used in a different way. Now with umbrella leaves, you can protect your Gloom Shrooms from catapult zombies. What I did is simply use 1 Gloom Shroom as an early game defender while spending instant kills on the 2 other lanes. This allows us to save sun to plant Gloom Shrooms up front. Planting them in the 7th column allows the Gloom Shroom to hit catapult zombies. Planting it on the 8th column lets the catapult zombies to crush them, so that's why it has to be 1 tile back. In this level, ladder zombies actually help us, as a ladder on our pumpkin up Gloom Shroom makes it invincible from chewing, so you don't even need to repair your pumpkins. With that, I think it's safe to move on to the next level here. And what did you know? Not even Gargantuars can beat Gloom Shrooms because the level will only ever send 2 Gargantuars this whole level. When a Gargantuar comes, you just need to spend 2 instant kills on it. Repeat this for every Gargantuar, and you can beat the level fairly easily given there's nothing else to do. We're now on the final level of the challenge. Unfortunately, you actually cannot use Gloom Shrooms since Jack-in-the-Box zombies can blow them up by chance. Madness Shroom also cannot be used in tandem, as you then cannot pick Umbrella Leaf, since you still need the Greed of Sun from your early game plants and Twin Sunflower to afford glooms. This means that we have to resort to using Melon Pulse instead, which is still enough to beat the level. Using Cabbage Pulse to defend the early game is still the best option. You should be able to barely get past the early game with just Cabbage Pulse and a single Melon Pulse while spending where necessary on Potato Mines and Squash to kill Coneheads. With that in mind, I can comfortably afford a second Melon Pulse on the first flag, which I of course planted the 2 Melon Pulses on lane 2 and 4 to maximize the splash damage of them both. And for whichever is appropriate, you should plant a Magnet Shroom or Umbrella Leaves depending on the zombies in the order that you encounter. You obviously need Umbrella Leaves for Bungee zombies and Catapult zombies, and Magnet Shroom is required as a Melon Pulse with a Cabbage Pulse still cannot kill Bucketheads. Planting a few more Melon Pulses should get you all the way to the wave before the final wave, which is when the first Gargantuar can appear. Here, you just want to do nothing. That's because the final wave is coming up, and in which your roof cleaners will clean up every zombie on the screen. You should be good to go, and the challenge is officially beaten. So the answer is yes. Plants vs Zombies is beatable with inflation, where every plant will cost 50 more sun for every time it is planted. Just note, this was played on a modded client of the game, and I actually had to pay someone to code this inflation feature into the game, and it costs a lot of money, so please, consider subscribing and supporting the channel, because without the support of channel members, this video would not be possible. Again, thank you to our channel members, and for now, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.